Gen Z and NFTs, how to bring mass adoption to the youngsters. You have our attention.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, I hope you've been enjoying the last couple of days. We're here to talk to you about Gen Zs and NFTs, as well as how we can bring on the next generation on board. Now, just before we start, I just want to kind of get a quick a judge of the room. Put your hands up if you've minted an NFT before. Put high up. Okay, cool. So almost everyone. Perfect. Keep your hand up if you've lost money on an NFT. Okay. Now keep your hand up if you've been scammed in the NFT space in some way, shape, or form. Okay. Now keep your hand up if you regret coming into the NFT world. Perfect. Cool. Awesome. Now I just wanted, I'd love to kind of introduce the panel, and I want to talk to you guys about a little bit. I hope today we're going to be able to discuss about the state of the NFT space right now, how we're bringing people on board into this NFT space, and the questions that I just asked are going to be pretty pertinent to that, and then how we can bring on the next generation on board as well. So, but I think first of all, I think introductions are in order. I'll quickly go. My name's Abraham, or online people know me as Zeppi. I am a educator, analyst, coach, project founder, as well as a consultant in the space. Helped launch lots of different projects. Currently, I'm focusing on educating the space and helping people kind of progress their journey in the Web3 industry.
Yeah, great. We got a great moderator, by the way. So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Matteo Gamberale. I'm Italian, and I'm developing an application called Zappy, which is similar to Xappy, but it's Zappy. And it's actually a data monetization game for Gen Z. Basically, it's a gamified way to educate Gen Z on the value of their data and how to actually monetize their data using the blockchain technology.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Rahul. I'm born in London. I've been in the crypto NFT space for about 4 or 5 years, and I work on marketing, specifically like social and hype marketing, which is something that we've seen carry a lot of this space through many of the bull runs. And yeah, excited to chat more about Gen Z specifically and how we can get them all involved with the NFTs.
Hi, is this working? Hello. My name is Raki Brown. I'm the CEO of Omnia DeFi, which tokenizes real estate, and iQuest Games, but that's quite early stages with that, which is play to earn and play to learn. I'm very interested in the future of NFTs and where it's kind of headed, and I have maybe some unusual thoughts about where it's headed and how fundamental it is to the future of this industry.
Amazing. So I'd love to start just by maybe talking a little bit about the current state of adoption in the space and how people perceive NFTs, the NFT industry. It's obviously, we've had such a journey, and I think most people entered the NFT world over the last couple of years. That's when it really started taking off. And there's been some really, really interesting developments that, the market has changed so much. The types of projects that are being launched have changed to a degree. And with all of that in mind, the people who have been entering the space have been entering and becoming exposed to it in very, very different ways as well. So yeah, I'd love to kind of hear your opinion sort of about how adoption is currently being done.
So if I may start. What I personally think about adoption is that we're seeing it from the inside of this space, right? And I personally think it's a mistake, because do you know how many wallets there are now registered on OpenSea, which is the leading NFT marketplace? It's 1 million. That's it. So 1 million wallets are currently on on OpenSea. So that's nothing. Right? So when we think about the NFT space, we think about this kind of conferences with so many people, but there's literally so much there's still so much coming, right, in the next future. So I personally think that the way we're educating it's not just about Gen Z, but Gen Z in general is definitely the target to go, right, for NFT. And there's many reasons for that. We can analyze that later if you want. But I think the adoption right now is not as much as we think, and we can improve the way we approach and we target the Web 2 crowd in order to bring the Web 2 crowd to Web 3. I think that's crucial.
Definitely. I mean, it's amazing because it's exactly like you said. There's 1 million currently registered wallets on OpenSea. If you actually look at the monthly active wallets over time on the Ethereum network, which is by far the biggest trading volume network out there. So it's a pretty good indicator to take into sort of just how engaged people are with the NFT world right now. Last year in October, we had, or in November I think it was, we had about 500, we were approaching 500,000 active wallets, monthly active wallets. 1 year later, we're sitting at about 400,000 monthly active wallets. So over this course of 1 year, it's not just that we've lost, up until last month, it's not just that we've not gained any newcomers, because we've lost just as many as we've gained. We've actually lost more now than we've gained since the bear market. So that should tell you how early you still are in this industry. Like, I always like to stress that point, because it's, you could have a look at everything that's happening in the space and go, wow, there's just so many projects launching, there's just so much stuff going on. Am I still early? Well, as we've just heard as well in the last presentation, just the metaverse market alone is probably expected to exceed some of the biggest world economies by 2030. So the fact that you're here now talking about this stuff, having adopted it, you are considered early adopters. Now, that brings me on really nicely onto the next point, which is, how do we go from just right now, even forgetting about Gen Zs for a second, because we'll get onto them in just a second, but how do we go from 400,000 monthly active wallets to 1 million monthly active wallets to 10 million monthly active wallets? If someone wants to.
Wow. I think that a lot of it is to do with actually using NFTs for real-world assets. I think that's not... the Zoomers kind of kickstart everything because they're really into the gaming scene and the NFTs and the memes, and that kind of gets things going. And I think there's a lot more work to do there in terms of gamification, and a lot of the lessons that are being learned in gamification, I think will start to seep into the ordinary business world, where gamification of business itself can be a much more effective way of achieving results. But I also think for expansion, it needs the money coming in, and it needs some kind of real-world utility. So tokenizing real estate, real-world art, and things like that will definitely make a big difference. But I also think that we're only right at the very beginning of NFTs are going to be with us for 30, 50 years, because I believe that the future of NFTs is actually applying machine learning to NFTs, and in a way apply intelligence to them, because right now they're very static. They can hold information, and now you can rent them out and stuff like that as well. But that's just the beginning. Once you apply intelligence to them so that different NFTs are learning, and then after that you combine it with collaboration between different NFTs, so they learn different skills and they can collaborate, and you can start basically creating NFTs as DAOs or businesses, with AI collaborative kind of elements. I think you're going to see an explosion, and you're going to basically have NFTs doing everything. So it's much, much bigger than what I think people realize. As usual with new technology, we see it in a certain way because it presents itself as, like the internet, something that's kind of just interesting, quirky, fun, but people don't understand the utility until much later. And I think there's much, much more to come. And I don't think it'll be 100 million. I think it'll be billions of people will be using NFTs for pretty much everything. And the Zoomer generation, they'll probably be running their businesses via NFTs within the next 5 to 10 years, and that'll be the norm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very fascinating concept as well. And I think when we think about general adoption, and like I was saying, not specifically around Gen Z, it's about aligning some of these verticals. Seeing from like a music industry what the NFT space could build to that. I think right now we've seen the gaming industry really dominate what NFT application looks like at the moment. And more of these industries are understanding about the technology behind NFTs, seeing how these applications can be used to change a lot of the day and day. Like you were saying as well, the information that is being stored on NFTs right now is static. As people are starting to understand more and more, and people are putting videos behind NFTs, being able to rent that out, could that be a whole new Netflix industry, for example, where you've got NFTs as series and these are like the norm for the next generation. And I think right now it's still very early in the sense of what people understand within NFTs, but as more and more people understand the verticals that they make sense for, that is when the practicalities and utilities really come through. So I think that's something that we'll see more and more over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And if I can add to that, I think education plays a crucial role over there, right? I mean, the thing is, right now, we're not quite there yet with the level of education and the kind of education we're, doing towards Web3. And I think we should focus more on the benefits that this technology, can bring, rather than just focusing on explaining the technology itself, right? Always make this example. How many people know exactly here what happens after I press the send button on a Gmail when I'm sending an email? Right? Every single step that happens after that. No one, right? I do not. I have no idea, right? So why is that? Because I just know the benefit of doing that. I know if I press the button, the other person will receive the email. So I think we have to focus on that kind of education towards Gen Z, but not only Gen Z, towards the entire Web2 crowd, right? We need to tell them the benefits of using the NFT technology rather than just explaining them the technical aspect of it, because let's face it, they don't care. They don't give a shit about it, right? I mean,
You know they don't. It's so true. And it's actually like, it's so time relevant as well, because I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, Reddit launched its digital collectibles, and it blew up, and everyone started getting really interested in it. Why? Because they dropped the word NFT, and it goes back to some of the other panels and they said the exact. I mean, the amount of talks that I've been at the last couple of days, where people have just been mentioning, why are we so focused on selling the word NFT to people? Because they don't care. They fundamentally don't care. In fact, it's a detriment right now, unfortunately. I mean, the people that are in this space hear NFTs and they have a positive connotation with it. But you go tell your friends about it, especially if your friends are like in gaming circles, or they're younger, or they're artists in particular circles. They hate the idea of NFTs. They're super, it's a polarizing problem right now, where they just don't want to think about NFTs in a positive light because of the media coverage and because of everything else that's happening with it. Yes, that's the technology, but no one cares. You don't care, like you said, you don't care about how the send button in Gmail works. You just care that your email gets sent off, just as much as you actually care about digital ownership. You genuinely care about the fact that you can own an asset digitally, like this is yours. That's why the Reddit thing blew up so much. It's like, hey, this avatar, that's yours now. People are like, hell yeah, thanks, I'll keep it, Oh, by the way, it's an NFT. What? It's like we need to really move over. In order to increase adoption, I think that is one of the biggest things that we need to start being able to do, is moving away from that terminology and being able to distance ourselves from it and refocusing our education. This is something that I'm super focused on, and it's been something that I've been really passionate about, just helping the space understand that how NFTs are going to play a role in their lives, but how they can take advantage of it right now. Because a lot of people are coming in, they're trying to mint the NFTs because maybe they've come in because of FOMO, maybe you come in because of other reasons. So your friends told you about it. Maybe you see the genuine, potential in it. I think a lot of people that have stayed in this space came in for whatever reason, but stayed because they saw the potential. And therein, I think when I asked you guys to raise your hands earlier, almost everyone that's come into this space has lost money on NFTs if they've actually been engaging with them. And if you haven't, by the way, come talk to me afterwards. I want to know your secrets. But
I know I did.
There you go. So it's like, how do we move away? But everyone has stayed. Everyone that's lost money in this space also carries on staying. Not everyone does, but everyone that's here sees the genuine future of these of NFTs and wants to stay, wants to continue being a part of this world because they know the potential that it has. So that potential is very much like what you said. It's like the usability. It's the usability, like how, all the different use cases are what everyone has been talking about. So maybe if I just throw the question back now again, now thinking more specifically about sort of Gen Zs, and you guys have already sort of started mentioning some of the ways in which they'll start getting involved. But if you maybe move away from the notion of sort of just NFTs, digital collectibles, and the blockchain, all these implementation details, how do you think? What do you think are going to be the biggest areas, the biggest drivers, the biggest projects that are going to start, the types of projects that are going to start bringing in Gen Zs into the space, and how are they going to do it?
Yeah, happy to cover that. I think right now, the thing with Gen Z is that they really understand the internet like no one else because they were born with it. They've had the Google search bar since as soon as they've popped out, and it's something that they've been very familiar with. The access of information, it's always been present for them. So it's something very easy for them to understand and appreciate. And I think some of the verticals that you really see that Gen Z are fascinated by are things like music. Something that's worked really well is things like tickets for music concerts, having all of that really start from an NFT mint. And that alone has got so many people fascinated from a new audience about how to integrate and what that actually means for the future of that space. So I think, again, when you start to align some of these creatives and really see what these different steps behind NFTs and minting them can actually mean for people. And then you've got, for example, a ticket that says that you've been to this concert, and it's a new collectible, it's a new sense of ownership for this generation. And it's something that, like Melissa was saying, it's a new fascination point for this generation. So yeah, I think music specifically is something that's very much a driver for this space. I think the storage of songs within NFTs as well, and how that really looks like, is something that can really change it for sure from an adoption point of view.
You want me to?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think complexity, as we add more complexity to the NFTs, and we start combining utility tokens in particular that have certain properties with NFTs, it's going to be much more exciting to use them. The way I look at NFTs is a little bit like primordial cells before we had multicellular organisms. They're just lacking the ability to collaborate and access to intelligence and goals. And then in that kind of way of looking at it, utility tokens are like the information that is taken in or rejected by the NFTs themselves. Once you start adding all that extra complexity to it, then it's much more interesting. I think right now it's just a fascination with something new, and I don't think that's going to last unless there's more development in terms of what you can actually do with these NFTs. And the whole thing about maybe not calling them NFTs or needing a new word for it. I mean, they used to be called non-fungible tokens, and then all of a sudden everybody was talking about NFTs, and it took me a while to realize we were talking about non-fungible tokens, and they'll be called something else at some point, I'm sure, as they evolve, I think we've started something that is it's unstoppable, really, once it gets going. We're really just the beginning.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I think there's another component here that has to be improved a lot, which is user experience. I mean, UX now in the Web3 space, but especially on NFTs, but in the entire Web3 space, sucks. Like, especially for Gen Z. Gen Z are used to, first of all, they're 1/3 of the world, right? So they're like so many. Why do we have to focus on them? They're 1/3 of the world. They have a spending power in the US alone of $150 billion. I mean, that's kind of a lot, right? Okay, so we have to think like them, right? We have to shape the UX and the user experience of the entire Web3 space in a way they understand it, right? We do not have to impose our user experience on them. We have to follow what they think and what they like in terms of UX, and apply that to our amazing technology. So I think all of what you said it makes total sense. But without the proper UX, I mean, they will never adopt it. So I think it's a mix of what you guys said and the proper user experience on it.
100%. And it's like, what really fascinates me is the fact that we have different UX experiences between Web 2 and Web 3. In Web 2, the problem of UX has been battled since the advent of the internet. And Web 3 doesn't, just because it's called Web 3, doesn't mean that all of a sudden it's a different web browser that you're accessing the stuff through. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that all the things that you like about user experience change in the Web 3 world. Yes, you now have a wallet and decentralized applications rely on this idea of a wallet. But even that can be abstracted away. There's plenty of beautiful projects that are building right now, really amazing projects, who are trying to abstract just the idea of a wallet so far away from the user, because again, all the user really sometimes cares about is being able to click like sign in using Google, sign in using Apple, and then the wallet gets generated in the background. And if that's, and sure, that might not be the utopian, decentralized world that we want to live in, where everyone has custodial ownership over their assets and their wallet, but that is a first step. And then when you're interested enough, you can pull that wallet out and give it to them when they want to take that extra step. But it doesn't, imagine if the internet began with what we have nowadays, The internet was a gradual build-up. And Web3 is also a gradual build-up, but the user experience needs to get better, it needs to get friendlier. If I could also touch quickly, because on one more component, which I think is gaming, because obviously Gen Zs are also one of the biggest demographics in the world of gaming. And this is not a gaming panel. There's plenty of gaming panels that have been run over the last couple of days. But if you think about all the digital assets that people are purchasing right now, that's the biggest industry within gaming, right? Microtransactions could compile a ridiculous amount of the value within the $250 billion asset class that is gaming. Gaming surpasses every other entertainment asset class in the world, and Gen Zs and millennials are the two biggest drivers of that asset class. So if you look at gaming right now, if people are familiar, you're buying items in games, you're buying skins, you're buying cards, you're buying loot boxes, you're buying all of these digital items, and they're nothing but digital junk. Because the moment that you want to get out of that game, your data is locked in that game. So, but the moment, if you can evolve away from that and start rewarding and start actually giving them ownership of the items that they have, fundamentally giving them ownership of the items that they have. Just don't call it NFTs, but give them ownerships of their digital collectibles. Let them sell them, let them trade them, let them use them in other games. Do all of this stuff with them. All of a sudden, the adoption is just there.
Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate the panel.
Thank you.
I know that all of you have so much more to share. We wish we had more time for each of you.